Welcome back. We had a week where I didn't do Parlay, and now we've returned with Ivara. There's a couple of quick pieces of housekeeping to get out of the way, as usual. And then I think I'm going to do Ivara Fashion Frame first. I'm going to try, I've been trying a lot harder to make the timestamps for these live shows much more useful, making them basically more of them, but more meaningful chunks, kind of organizing the stream more too. I've been trying not to call these streams, but live shows, because I really do think that they're not. When you say a stream, most things that you'd call that, this really isn't like those things. And I think I'm giving people the idea that they should care about just watching me play and not talk, which I don't think you should care about that. This is something quite different from a stream, you know. It is obviously technically a stream. It's interesting to note that in many places, Twitch doesn't use that verbiage either. I noticed that once I started thinking about this. That's interesting. I don't know what to think about that right now. Anyway, I'm trying to do that. And so, yeah, I'm trying to focus on all the parts that could be improved. I think one of those is timestamps. So I'll try to do the best I can. As a lot of you know, I make the timestamps during the live show. And then I try to say, this is what I'm doing, future Zandy. And then I know to label the thing, So I'll try to do even better with that. I am going to be a little bit more open to reordering parts of each of the live shows because they will be more distinctly labeled. I'll try very hard to make that exchange. Okay. Thing number two, last week was TennoCon in Warframe, which is Warframe's like big annual announcement event. I really strongly dislike covering news related stuff. I'm just not. There's a lot of reasons why I could do a whole stream on that, and maybe we will sometime. But I'm really not interested in talking about that at all. It's not because I'm not interested in it. It's because this is my job, not my entire life. Although I do a thing for my job that I like doing a lot. There are other parts of me and privately as a player, like I'm excited about this stuff from TennoCon. I just don't really, it's not really related to the Buildcraft stuff I want to discuss. News in a game, in an ongoing game, is bad for Buildcraft because at least temporarily, what exactly the state of the game's Buildcraft is becomes unknown for a limited time. Ahoy indeed. So I hope it makes sense why you don't want me to talk about that. If you want what this show is, we're going to avoid that. And I will be sticking to a policy going forward that if there's a big update that I feel would impede the stream, I will skip that stream. Last week I didn't have time anyway. I was otherwise occupied, but I would have not streamed even if I was free, because it doesn't make sense. In the past, I've had a pretty bad experience trying to stream over a Warframe update, so I won't be doing that as much as possible anyway. Pingers, thank you for the tier 1 sub for 14 months. Welcome back. How you doing? And I also see Ace and Yatagami. Welcome back, you too. I'm going to post the Twitch ARRchive Parley forum. It's been a couple of weeks, so please submit stuff to that because, obviously it ran dry since I wasn't doing the streams back to back. I got to find a better way to restock the Twitch ARRchive Parley forum when I didn't stream the previous week. I'll think about that. And let me tell people we're here on Twitter and Discord, and go from there. Oh, actually, there's one more thing. A little bit of cross-pollination between the Bootleg Builds channel, where this will be an archive, and the Pantaloon Saloon channel. I reckon there already is a lot of crossover there. But I have a thing that I'm actually going to put live right now. That is a kind of free group parlay that you can all participate in. So, of course, the ARRchive Parley forum there that I just linked, well, you can use that. I should link that on the stream archive on YouTube. Link ARRchive Parley forum on YouTube archive. That's an idea. We'll come back to that later. I'll do that. But yeah, something free where you can submit your response. It's about tabletop RPGs. I'll post the link in chat right now. But yeah, you can just go to the Pantaloon Saloon YouTube channel. That video just went up. This is the 21st when I'm recording this. So anyway, go find it. And yeah, please submit to that. I'm looking forward to your responses. I think it'll be fun. We'll do a little group Parley thing from time to time. Seems like a easy, fun thing to do that I thought you'd all like. And you know, Twitch, this is my last bit of housekeeping thing. Twitch subscribers at tier 1, like pingers, you are the largest group of people that support me financially. There's no larger pool of people that have chosen to pay me money to do this thing I'm doing than tier 1 Twitch subscribers. And yet, for the money, I kind of feel like I give you the least relative to the amount of money you're paying, which is partially because I was for lack of something to do. But I'm going to put a little more effort into that. So a little something free that you can participate in. So anyway, thank you. Cool, great. Having said all of that, let's do some Ivara fashion framing, shall we? We will make the jellyfish fashion. I think that we need to do this because, one, this is just too bright. Obviously, this is meant to be the waifu fashion.
If you wanted me to build, if you want us to think about our multipliers, each patch we read through, each patch we skim through.
Is this a parody of a song that I'm not recognizing correctly? Thank you for the Prime sub for 27 months. Asymptomatic, I appreciate it. Welcome back. That was a lyric thing, I think. And Mr. Food, thank you for the Prime sub for 15 months. Mr. Food, Mirrors, Darios, Emo, Pixel. What are we doing for Ivara fashion? Should I let people? No, but if I say you can send me fashion, then people do it throughout the whole stream and it'll... yeah, all right, no, we just got to take suggestions for aesthetic. Let's look at... I wish you could just default everything like this, but also for accessories. That was close enough, I guess. Oh, gotta ban a spam bot. But yeah, Ivara, this appearance, I've always really, really liked. I love the... Okay, I'm a bit into the poofy skirts. All right, I like that. I can dig that aesthetic. But the like jellyfish waifu thing, Warframe has this really weird relationship with I don't know, just like character design. There's like a very different type of interpretation of some classic aesthetics. Something I love about Warframe. Yeah, so people are saying you want like a bioluminescence thing. Eye violating turquoise, commit to jellyfish. Okay, so I'm not going to make it a color described as eye violating turquoise, Pixel. But you know, we can get into it a little bit. Welcome back. I'm gonna maybe I really like the idea of giving it a... What color should this be? This is the key color, I think, to make it look like a fish. Get that big fish wife energy. I can kind of dig that. Maybe, what's this like? Okay, that has a little bit of like a camo. Oh, okay, geez. That's Splatoon, and then this is kind of camouflage was what I was going to say, which is cool. You get the aesthetic of like the stealth, but then also the coloration of a fish. I saw in chat, Bunatic, you said, Ivara looks so pretty. Sadly, you don't see her much when she's permanently invisible. That's brutal, but very completely true, but savage. That's true. I'm just gonna get... There's a lot of responses in chat, so some of them are to accessories that I'll have to go back to later. Turquoise highlights dark green background. You people with your color vision knowing what turquoise is. My sympathies, but indeed I can see the color turquoise. As far as I mean, can any of us? Anyway, but I believe I can. My experience thus far is that I appear to be able to see the same turquoise as a lot of people. Oh my goodness. Okay. So maybe like when it's colors like that, I often want to go for kind of a hybrid color that isn't exactly one color or another. Like something that isn't a block shade. I don't really know how to say what I'm saying technically. But my instinct is to go for something that, you know, isn't only or mostly that one color. So I'm trying to think what that might be. Like what do I want there? I don't want it to be too dark because you see, like, this looks kind of like it's a color, but it really blends. I don't know. That's hard. It's hard, right? Maybe we should go to emissives and then go backwards, but I'm afraid this creamsicle color is going to yuck me up. I do like that turquoise. People said like pink is a common color for bioluminescent jellyfish. I think turquoise and pink. Turquoise and both is good, you know? Let's do no, but like brighter than that. Yeah. Okay, cool. This is gonna be like a bubblegum looking. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That sounds cool to me. Sure. We'll do that. Does this skirt? No, that's the gold details. We could do. See, now I really want this green because it creates that kind of. I love me my jungle aesthetics, you know.
Towards hype train.
Ace, thank you for the 28 bits, and Synthrone, thank you for the tier 1 sub for 11 months total. I imagine people watching the archive are not used to there being so much fashion craft front-loaded, which is one reason I gave timestamps, so please use them if you don't want to watch this part. But a lot of people said, like, please include the fashion part, so I don't know, I think Ivara is an interesting one, right? It is like sort of challenging. This is a bit, I almost think this is a bit too much, you know, like this color channel that we're looking at is like a bit too much over the body. We might be able to, sometimes you can like weave in. Yeah, sometimes you can weave in like a deluxe or a another skin and kind of combine it with the prime skin to change what color channels are available, to tone down how much of the body. That was a great example of that. You see what I'm trying to say? Which can really help mitigate that. And in this case, I think that might be what we're doing. This is all right too, but I like this. I like the texture on this quite a bit. Okay, cool. We have to change a few things, of course. Now this tertiary isn't really that much, so we could maybe go with something like really neon. Yeah, like I actually kind of like this as it is now, and then we'll change the I kind of like something brighter. What do you think of this? I like this because it gives the impression of like luminescence or almost ink, sort of, and you get a little bit of the camo thing. Maybe we should go a little darker to evoke the camo thing a little bit more. And then we're gonna fiddle with the metallic. Do I want it back to gold? Let me try this dull bronzy gold that we've talked about a lot on the stream. And I like that. I often like this. Let me quickly look at rose gold too, actually. I kind of like that too. This is kind of a warm tone fashion too. I'm gonna go with the rose gold one. We'll keep a little bit of that like jellyfish bride aesthetic, you know. I've seen some recommendations to flip the blue, excuse me, the blue and the pink down here. We could try that, sure. We'll look at what that looks like. All right, it's coming together. I just removed my escape key from my keyboard. Boop. Okay. Great. Gotta have that in the stream. Yeah, okay. The hem being pink instead is basically the change that made. Yeah, I can dig this. You get a little bit of magical girl, a little bit of high-tech military Ivara 2.0. Any color changes for high-tech military Ivara 2.0, Mr. Food? I'm gonna make our black a little bit more brown, like just the tiniest bit brown. You see, like that? Just to make it a touch warmer. Only a little bit, yeah. Cool. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I can dig that. Yeah, again, we started with like, this is just like no effort waifu Ivara, right? There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But personally, I find it hurts my eyes slightly in this context. So we're going for this. Now, we're probably going to talk about energy colors separately. For a frame like Ivara that is going to be invisible a lot, uh, purposeful mispronunciation, I I feel like it might be kind of a separate discussion about colors. Again, it's a bit of a shame we were talking earlier, like, you're not going to see this fashion that much, but I don't know. I mean, my videos involve a lot of looking at the arsenal, so we will see it a lot, but in mission, you really won't. I'm going to go Syndana next. I think this is hard on Ivara. She has a skirt and a sort of ponytail, twin tail thing hanging from her head, so it's going to be quite difficult to put a Syndana in here that doesn't clip. Suggestions, chat? I know I saw some armor earlier. There's a lot of stuff in chat right now, so please forgive me if I missed too much. I like the idea of making it like a deep sea creature, like a more menacing, like Leviathan fashion, to kind of upend the expectation of the like waifu skirt looking thing. That's a cool idea. I didn't decide to go that way, but I thought I'd highlight that. That's not that. That's clippy, but like you don't see the clipping like maybe so often. So that's like okay. Like I can get down with like fine, but I would be curious if there was something that clipped less. Saturn 6 Syndana or something backpackish. Very smart, very clever. Yeah. That's a good idea, but again, it just clipped with the thing a lot. We're gonna go for my usual approach. You all know it, you hate it. Mix and matching the helmets. I love that, but it's got a ponytail. I kind of like the like different. I love the eyes on this. That's so cool. Oh yeah. No, the colors are kind of wonky on that. The bunny hood classic. See, I actually really like this. The problem is it doesn't really solve this problem. But I just like how it looks, so I might just keep it. That's so cool. Anyway, that's what it was, Ace. That the Parley lyrics, the lyrics in Asymptomatic's Prime Sub were from a parlay that Asymptomatic paid me to talk about. From a few weeks, I knew there was a little glimmer in my memory that was like, why do I know this song? But I don't. You know the words, but you don't hear it in your head, because I spoke about the lyrics much more. Anyway, all right. Well, we'll try this. I really do like this helmet. We might not add a Syndana, and that's fine. But I do want to try the Ivara Prime one again, just to see. You see, like it does clip behind it a lot, which you might be okay with. I'm just gonna do a quick scroll for the Syndanas, and then we'll give up. You might very well not. That's fine. I'm just gonna do like a few quick. Ooh, that one you can really see the clipping though. I don't know. And again, like this is just my taste. You might not care that much. Unfortunately, it's a bit hard. See, this one, it almost looks like it isn't clipping to me, but it really, really is. You could try a different animation set, of course. Again, we have very limited time in these streams. We already spent over a fourth of the stream talking about fashion just now. So you gotta understand, like, we're not gonna be comprehensive. We would never, ever cover every frame, ever, if we did that. So we are going to be picking and choosing, but that's not to say you shouldn't. I'm gonna have to choose or I'll never finish. Whoa, what is this, Syndana? Where's this from? Cool, not here, but I've just never seen this before. Anyway, that's really cool. You know what I bet this is from? Titania Deluxe, right? Anyway, again, just doing a quick little... Ooh, the spores being cotton candy colored on this looks kind of cool. Anyway, just doing a little scroll. A side thing might work okay. But again, a lot of them are just quite clippy, unfortunately. That one I could kind of live with it. Anyway, I'll leave it with that one for now. And I also think that shoulder armor on Ivara is challenging. We are going to try some animation sets really quick, because I think it makes a pretty big difference on this frame. So I'll scroll through a few just to let you think about them for yourself. But I really do like the Garuda one. I like how it emphasizes her asymmetrical shoulders because she's got the like quiver thing. Always liked this animation set. As you can see, that's gonna make her ponytail clip through her entire body, but that's fine. This one's aight as far as I'm concerned. I can kind of get down with this one too. But I felt like the Garuda one really fit the emotion of the helmet. I don't know. Like supremely confident huntress. Oh, I can kind of get behind this too, actually. Kind of like that. All right, chat. This one, the Sevagoth Noble, or the Garuda Noble that I had before, which looks like this. And a quick shout out to Wisp, a pretty common choice that I think looks really cool. It makes her look like she is, yeah, like swimming. Cool. Personally, I actually don't love this one. But I get the appeal, to be sure. Titania would be a little bit different. Hey, Ivara, how goth are you? 7 goth. Nice, okay. That went a little bit over my head, you saw. All right, we'll go 7 goth. We want a little variety. Mr. Fruit was the only person who voted. So you got it. Sweet. Yeah, we'll go with this for now. Again, I'm not going to worry about attachments. Personally, I think Ivara's fashion is a bit busy. So for now, we're not going to focus on that. Again, I'm picking and choosing here. We're going to talk about fashion Buildcraft, but that doesn't mean we're going to do every single detail of every single thing, just like we're not going to do every single detail of every single part of the build, because some of them, I just don't think it's as much worth our time compared to the other things we could be doing. So I hope that's okay. Hope you can understand the judgment call. Okay, let's swap and talk about abilities. And for Ivara, this is going to be a pretty difficult section too. I think mostly because Ivara has arguably a lot of abilities. Now, sometimes I think this can be kind of an illusion. Quiver has among it, there's the zip line. And the zip line can give you, with the augment, a big crit damage buff, which I kind of feel like that and Prowl and Artemis Bow are all functionally, like you're gonna use those things together, but you can use them apart. They definitely have meaningful uses apart. They're not literally a combo, they just happen to be useful when used in conjunction as well. And on the other hand, some of Ivara's quiver arrows are relatively niche, but I still think that overall this frame has a relatively dense kit. There's still, relatively a lot of different things in here. So again, in this section, we're just going to go over those things. A lot of people watching these streams don't know what every single ability of every single frame does, which is not like to be expected. Not everyone's job is to be an encyclopedia of those things and then use that knowledge to make interesting builds for a living. So anyway, passive, this is enemy radar. You just get some enemy radar. Yeah, it's fine. It'll stack additively with other enemy radar you have. Not the worst passive, but I would 100% of all missions want to have a companion with animal instinct. So because there's really no drawback to doing so. So it's not as if you gain enemy radar where you did not have it. I can't think of a situation where that'd be the case, except the very big corner case is like the index. There's a very, very small number of missions where you have no companion. So I guess technically, wow, look at the bioluminescence looking thing there. That looks awesome in the dark. It doesn't, and it has that like cotton candy, bubblegum, like magical girl thing going on. But it also really does look like a kind of bioluminescence thing, don't you think? Oh, I really like that. This turned out nice, I think anyway. Okay, quiver. Kind of whatever passive. But again, in very specific situations like the index, it can make a pretty big difference. Quiver has 4 arrows. You can cycle between them and then shoot them. They don't cost like particularly a lot or a little energy. You get a stealth arrow, bubble, with a radius based on range and a duration based on duration that gives you stealth when you walk into it, works on allies. A zip line, you can walk on it like a zip line. Something of note is that while you are stealthed with Prowl, you can sprint on zip line without breaking the stealth. So you can move in some ways faster while using zip lines. Otherwise, they're a bit of a novelty besides the augment that makes you get crit damage on them. Noise arrows. This lets you move enemies around. I'm not really an expert on the applications of these. I feel like Warframe broadly really isn't designed for that type of ability, but spy missions and some forms of conservation in the open worlds, you might find them useful, and likewise sleep is kind of similar. I'm not sure I want to, this is Ivara's generic throw out some crowd control ability. Perfectly fine, of course. Radius based on range, duration based on duration. They wake up when they take, enough damage, probably. Maybe this ability doesn't do that, but a lot of sleep abilities do. But anyway, the main thing about the noise arrows, thank you, Mr. Food, to jog my memory, is that they can group enemies up. If you are stealthed and enemies don't know where you are, they'll just all walk toward the noise arrow, which can be very useful in, niche situations, but in which Ivara is useful. So, a pretty loaded ability. You get a stealth. I think this is noteworthy because very few, no other frames have like multiple stealth abilities, such that you could remove one and still have stealth on the frame and retain, Navigator and Artemis Bow. Navigator, you fly around a projectile. Basically, you activate this and then you shoot a projectile, you fly it around, you can speed it up. It gets a pretty gigantic damage multiplier. Then you can like fly it into an enemy. This could be, you're thinking like one bullet, really, but think like an explosive, or can you still do the disc from the Zenistar? That's one. That's interesting. Like an Azima turret or something. Some sophisticated projectile, let's say. Glaives. I bet it works on like thrown spear guns, like the Javlock. I don't really remember. A lot of the time, I don't think this would be an efficient way to fight. You don't necessarily want to be flying around that one projectile. You could just fire more. But two things stand out. First of all, you can take very little care with this. You can fire an explosive and just use this and speed it up immediately. You're only really occupied in Navigator for a very short time, and you spend very little energy, but you will give your attack like a modest damage increase, right? And that also avoids the gigantic energy drain. Please take note. On the other hand, you can also use it for pretty niche applications where you fly around a projectile to do a ton of damage. There's some interesting Eidolon hunting strategies for killing bosses with like a projectile you fly around and punch through an enemy a bunch of times. That's weird, but good in its niche. And I feel like this is a theme with Ivara. I don't know if I feel like this frame makes that much sense for general applications, but there's so many little niches here, right? So anyway, I don't know. Like, you can use this with an explosive and make it a damage increase. In fact, I would really like to explore that approach because it would make Ivara have a more general use application. Again, I think the challenge here is to make this more useful in what most Warframe missions are actually like, which I think you probably could do. Prowl. Pretty simple. If you sprint, it breaks, except on a dash wire. You become invisible. It doesn't have a duration. Instead, you just pay energy per second. And if you get near enemies, you get some loot out of them, some extra loot. A really weird, different kind of loot ability. Looks like it also gives you a headshot damage buff. I didn't know about that. Should be pretty trivial to kill enemies while you're stealthed like this, but it will help you do more damage, sure. I don't think there's a lot else to say. It's a durationless stealth ability. It costs a pretty reasonable amount of energy. Good. It's good. Does Ivara retain the crit bonus from the zip wire augment while in Navigator? I believe so. I haven't tried that in a while, but I believe so. And finally, Artemis Bow. You take out a somewhat unusual exalted weapon, a weapon that you mod separately. You'll see here, you can mod your and customize your Artemis Bow separately. Although I might choose to customize it a different way. Ooh. Yeah, I'd fiddle around the colors, but anyway. And of course, you can put mods on this. You know, it's a weapon that you mod separately. Ivara draws it with that ability. It doesn't have a weapon excel slot or arcane slots, but it is otherwise powerful. You know, generally with these abilities, the damage scales with the frame's strength, which is good. That's kind of a separate multiplier for the weapon's damage. Great. Sometimes it's counted as base damage. I don't know. You could easily find that on the wiki. By default, this fires fans of arrows, horizontal or vertical. And there's also an augment for it that makes it fire one arrow that will explode if you get a headshot. Is that? Yeah. And also a bunch more critical chance. Now, the default arrows have punch through, so that there's a trade-off you can make. A pretty interesting ability. The somewhat unusual thing about this, beyond the way it fires, it's just a somewhat odd weapon, is that it doesn't charge you per second. It just charges you per shot. I think it's like 15 per shot. Is that true? And the drain you're seeing here in the arsenal is, I believe, the cost to draw the bow. Is that true, chat? That's not fake, right? Anyway, which is a little unusual. So combined with Prowl, I think this is really nice. You can easily kill enemies because it does so much damage, and you don't have to worry about the double drain. You can opt in when you want to, so you don't break your stealth by spending more energy than you wish to. You could always stop if you were worried about it ending, which I think is nice. Again, a good ability. These are all pretty good abilities, I think, right? Which kind of begs the question, where to start? I'm gonna catch back up on chat a little bit, and then we'll kind of go from there, if that's all right. Just reading back when scrolling back on chat. Huh. Oh, we actually got to a lot of the stuff. I didn't do so bad, if I'd say so myself. Ace, you said, I tried really, really hard to make deployable mines, like the Talons and Castanas work. At least they seem to remember whatever Navigator bonus they had when they were planted. Oh, interesting. Okay. Ace, can I, just to clarify, so you take a weapon like the Talons or Castanas, they're thrown weapons, they hit the environment, and then you can detonate them remotely afterward. And it sounds like what you're saying is that if you use Navigator on them, and then you pilot them into the ground, and Navigator ends, because they've hit something, but the Talons and Castanas don't explode on contact. They only explode when you use the detonator. It sounds like you're saying that they save the Navigator damage multiplier, and then when you detonate them, they have that bonus. That's awesome. Like, I don't know how practical that is really, because their explosion radius is just kind of low, but it would still be like fine to put them at a choke point in like a defense mission during downtime. You could just like set them up, or you get to set one up. Can you set a bunch up? That's kind of interesting. I kind of like that. And you can play around with Navigator because you only control one projectile, so you could remove multi-shot and build the weapon specifically for Navigator to gain some modicum of additional damage. That seems good, like pretty good. I think that's cool. Wow. And again, not to say that would be like a whole build, just that like if we don't remove Navigator, which I wasn't particularly planning to do so far, you could just add that secondary and you get that tech. That's just a thing you get to add to your loadout, which seems neat. That seems like a nice thing to have in your back pocket. Navigator can also be used to control some Helminth abilities, which can be pretty wacky. Huh? That's awesome. Like what? How weird. Interesting. Are we talking, Bunatic, are we talking about like you infuse Vial Rush and one of the vials gets controlled? Like, not to say that there's no good use for that. I'm just saying that's what you mean. That's interesting. There must be some ability where that's good. Maybe. I say that, you're all like, right? We're thinking through all the Helminth abilities. All right. We're going to Helminth part. We're doing we're doing a split. We're going to the Helminth part. Gyre's Helminth ability. Ooh, that's an idea. Yeah. All right. Let's go. Yeah. Dude, Yeah, you take the mag. Oh no, but it explodes after a short duration. So maybe that'll be bad. Oh, that's a really good idea though. Larva? Larva. What about larva, you kind of shoot a thing. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. Ace, thank you for gifting a tier 2 sub to Yatagami. And Synthrone, I think I may have missed you with the tier 1 sub. Thank you very much. Welcome back. No, wait, maybe I did get you. I think I got you. Welcome back, Synthrone. And Ace, thank you for the tier 2 gift sub to Yatagami. Yatagami, congratulations. Oh yeah, Quill Horizon is a good idea. Yatagami, that's what I got a bunch of Discord messages from Yatagami suspiciously close to the time we went live. I of course I don't have time to read them all, so I apologize. But that you're saying that's part of what it was about. Yeah, this is a really cool idea. It sounds like it doesn't consume it. Yeah, I'm interested in larva, but that probably doesn't work. Control smite? Oh, like one of the little balls that comes out of smite? I wonder if that works. That it doesn't seem like it'd be that good. What we're looking for, right? Like one of the weaknesses of Navigator in my mind is that a lot of weapons, a lot of abilities rely on a bunch of projectiles to do their damage, and for Navigator to have the most impact, it doesn't mean it's automatically bad if you're only controlling part of an ability, but obviously it would correlate with an effective Navigator use if we controlled the whole ability. If the ability was one thing and we control that, that seems good. Did somebody say Vauban's Tesla Nervos? That's a complete meme. I just thought we should highlight that for a sec. Yeah, you can fly around the little taser ball and accomplish very little, but that's a really funny idea. I'm happy you mentioned that, but I don't think it's a good idea. Mr. Food, that was you. But just balls? I don't think that's good, but... Emo Nemo, you know, we have these as an archive too. You said, I want to keep working, but I don't want to miss any content. This will be on Twitch as an archive and on YouTube with timestamps. You don't have to feel like you're missing anything. I'm happy you're enjoying it so much that you feel that way, but I don't want you to feel like you have to watch live. Ureli Aqua Blades. Oh, with the augment, where you charge them up and then you throw one? Ooh, that's an idea, isn't it? Huh. Yeah, that's kind of clever. Like, the Aqua Blades themselves, probably, hopefully, you don't control. But then when you fire one with the augment, maybe you can control that with Navigator. Ureli is one of the very, very few frames alongside Sevagoth that I do not have in my Helminth system. So I may not be able to test that, but the Aqua Blade throwing thing does a lot of damage, so magnifying that with Navigator seems good. Like, probably, I don't know. It might just be so much damage it doesn't matter, but punch through? Something punch through? They do have punch through. Yeah, I don't know. Like, that seems... Yeah, I don't know. That seems maybe really good, but I don't know if it works, so... What's Nova's Helminth ability? Probably the orbs, Nullstar. You could control one of them with Navigator. Where's the spare Ureli if we need her? Yeah, I mean, it's hard because it's like I wasn't sure when I was going to use that ability, and I don't have the other Ureli because I did Ureli's quest on the test server, so I wasn't really that excited to do it again, and then I got my Ureli from Day 1 Access as a Warframe creator, and it was the whole thing. So yeah. Anyway, there are some interesting shenanigans to be had with Navigator. That's cool. I'm just gonna write down Navigator shenanigans. Detonatables like talons and kastanas save damage multiplier. And then I'm just gonna write Aqua Blades augment question mark. But let's not worry about that too much right now. We should start with more of a basic foundation for a build, I think. We're gonna take all this stuff off. And I would like to say for Ivara in particular, that this is a frame where I feel it's really relevant to put my bias, my cards on the table. My goal is always to make the least builds, not because I don't like making builds, obviously, but to make the most dense builds. And so if I feel like I can fit more stuff on a build, like I'm not going to make the way a lot of people talk about it, and to be honest, this kind of frustrates me, is you'll go on the internet and see a video where someone's like, the Ivara build, as if there's only one, or like the Navigator build, stuff like that. It reminds me a lot of Trinity, where people do like an energy vampire build, but you can just build for Trinity's other stuff and still get almost all the benefit of energy vampire. So anyway, it just really frustrates me. If you like that, that's fine. The suggestion frustrates me. You like that kind of build, that's totally fine. You might view my builds as unfocused. I just think a lot of the time in Warframe, you can kind of get enough while still putting other stuff in the build. So that's all. That being said, we could still talk about, like, if you were to do the, let's say Aqua Blades does work. Sadly, you cannot control them. RIP. Bunatic has tried it. And Yatagami Odin says to check my inbox. Oh no. You can see a lot of other Yatagami Odin gifts. Sevagoth, thank you very much. That was the other one I don't have, and I don't think I'm getting anytime soon. That was real thoughtful of you. Thank you. I will, subsume the goth right now. Oh, there were two. Okay. All right, hold on. let's not get carried away. Remember, the ability takes like a day to digest anyway. So even if we put Ureli in, you don't get the ability right away. You could rush it, but Bunatic has just tested that it doesn't work. How do you subsume things again? Wait, Sevagoth, why? Chat, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I feed my helmet? I'm doing something really stupid right now, and I don't know what it is. Oh, because this is from... I am doing something stupid. This is from Caliban. I have gloom. That's... I am the stoop. Yeah. Classic. It looks like I was also gifted a Ureli. Thank you very much. I am a derp. This is a thing you can only get from streaming for a bunch of people. That quiet back-of-the-mind anxiety is the only way you could do something that silly. Goodbye, Ureli. We salute you. And Yatagami, thank you very much. That's generous of you. And what you need is a calabench. They've all been transformed into furniture. We have Chairelli, Sofagoth, and calabench. Armchair? Gyre, but an armchair. Please don't turn every Warframe into furniture. My poor heart just can't take it. But anyway, thank you, Yatagami. That's very generous of you. I will apparently use the blades. How do you keep coming up with these puns? Yeah, I don't know. Chat is a machine for this stuff. Right, to go back to the basic build thing. At this rate, Zandy's going to have to sit down, which I am apparently currently not doing, right? Yeah, okay, so for the basis of a build. And the way I try to narrow this down is, are there any things that I'd want to build around that kind of dumpster the other effects? Or, you know, is there any ability I think is just almost always kind of bad? I could see removing Artemis Bow. I could see removing Artemis Bow because this weapon is, it does a ton of damage, but it has a bit of a fallacy compared to other exalted weapons. It doesn't always hit in a very large area. If you get headshots reliably, which Ivara can easily enable, Concentrated Arrow does explode in a really big radius. There are other explosive weapons. I've used this ability a bit and I really like it. I find it impressive. You can scale the explosion radius with range up to a pretty large value. I don't think this is not good, but at the same time, it is just the weapon, so I could see removing this. Let's talk about removing all of them in turn. Prowl. At first, you might be thinking, well, come on, like this is like the Ivara the thing or something. But she does have quiver, so it's not like you don't have stealth. I feel like this is maybe the least dense ability in some ways. And quiver does a lot of other things and does give you access to stealth, but I don't know. I reckon a lot of people are going to Ivara for this, so I'm just going to predict that most people would think it would be pointless to remove Prowl. I don't think that's always true, but I feel like a lot of people are going to Ivara for this. Navigator. I don't know, like, if you dump strength, I guess this might be kind of bad, or like if your efficiency ended up being really bad. I think another test for Navigator is how, like, a lot of people will say, but I can't make use of this in a normal mission. So maybe something we should try is setting up a Navigator thing that's meant to be used with like normal explosive weapons and see how that feels. In particular, I really wanted to try it with the Javlock, and we'll come back to that. I'm also going to put on the Kastanas here to remind myself of that like snapshotting Navigator thing that Asymptomatic brought up earlier. I thought that was cool. I want to come back to that. It's kind of cool to have them be these needles. I don't know. I resin the Sancti Kastanas to not look like themselves. Glaives, I don't know. Just quick Javlock. Actually, let's just do that right now. So one reason I thought of the Javlock is it's got a good explosion radius. You can see it's about 10 meters with Prime Firestorm. The Javlock, when you throw it, well, it explodes, and that isn't based on multi-shot, doesn't affect it. Instead, it does damage for each round in the magazine, and so magazine capacity is kind of like a multiplier to make up for the loss of multi-shot. But then with Navigator, you navigate like all of the multi-shot at once. That's my thought. Does it even work with the throw? I don't know. Will it do particularly meaningful damage even if you do this? I don't know. Let's find out. Would I use this exact build? No, but we'll get back to that later. Let's just quickly check if it works. That seems like the thing to do. Should we do a split here, chat? Is this too different? We're basically just trying to get a baseline. No, I guess it's fine. Once we solidify what we're actually doing, we can make that a separate one. So again, never mind the damage, although did they die? No, but again, you'd build it differently for the exact amount of damage you wanted to do. It does work. Okay, cool. You know, one drawback will be that the it does only hit one time. So for status output, for countering armor is basically what I'm getting at. That's gonna be The spinning looks awesome, yeah. Also, kind of unrelated, the spinning when you fly the Javlock around, I think it looks really cool. Thank you, Yatagami, for the Caliban. That is my last one. And this one, the gifts get added to your inventory before you open them. That's a whole can of worms. Thank you very much, Yatagami. I'm going to write in my notes that I need to subsume. Yeah, really. Caliban. I messed it up again. No, we've been over this. Calibench. Okay, I understand. Chat is going to have a riot if I don't call the Warframe's chair names. Classic. Okay, so piloting the Javlock. Again, the trade-off here is Navigator only pilots one object, And so something like the Javelok that has all the damage of the throw focused in one projectile, it's not affected by multi-shot, and magazine capacity kind of acts as that multiplier instead. On paper, that's very powerful. In practice, it might be more effective to use a weapon that just does more damage and to not worry about the multi-shot thing. I'm just exploring this angle. Now, I haven't worked with this weapon in a while. I would definitely build it differently. First of all, we're probably going Bane of Grenier. I'm also interested in going Hunter Munitions, although I'm a little bit... Oh, the crit chance is quite consistent, actually. But we only get one explosion, so it's still a 30% chance, which is not as exciting. I think maybe we just build Corrosive and Bane of Grenier and hope for the best. I've got a Riven for this. It's just a bunch of... I mean, it's a Riven, right? It's just a bunch of value. So, Toxin, and then I'll build... Oh, I put a bunch of Toxin because I was using gas previously. The weapon's got innate heat, but I'll go Corrosive. So we'll add the Zappy Boy mod. And then Bane of Grenier. And that will require a Forma, which I absolutely will spare for this weapon, and I have a bit of a history. Sordid Love Affair is the type of history I have with this weapon. If I had one more capacity, I could fit it, so we're going to do this. And I'm going to rank that up to 4 while we test it out. Yeah, like probably give or take this. We're going for the upfront damage to deal with Grenier. And remember, when we were testing the damage before, not only did we not have that, I also hadn't built Strength, which Navigator is quite heavily affected by. Let's quickly put on a modest amount of Strength just to feel that out. I'm going to do a little bit of Efficiency too. Not a ton, just like to have some. Realistically, I'm not going to dump Strength if I was going to do it this way, so... I love the Javelok so much. We could do a whole thing about just like my obsession with the Javelok. And it is an obsession, to be sure. This is dumb, but headshot, bullet attractor, scourge, thrown, plus concentrated arrow. That is very silly, Mr. Food, but I think that's reasonable. There's a type of player who wants that. Negative duration for faster ramp up. Does that work? Is that a thing that happens? Ace, was that a joke, or does that occur? Ace just said negative duration for faster ramp up. Does that happen? I would definitely do that. Okay, hold on. So we're going to go to Fleeting Expertise. So we're going to add a bunch of negative duration. It totally works. Okay. Now we're going to do the thing where on abilities that... This is like my least favorite mechanic in all of Warframe, but on abilities that scale their drain per second with duration and efficiency, building efficiency over 175% offsets duration below 100% or something that's close enough. So you actually are getting benefit from, like, we have over 75% efficiency. And there's another efficiency mod. Okay, we're at 2.4 drain. Oh, that reduces it yet further. Interesting. I have yet to find a use for doing all three of these. This allows you to run full negative duration for Navigator while having very high efficiency on the ability. The drain per second is only 0.75 now. Cool. That's a weird corner case. Now, this is what I meant by like a starting point for the build. Having a situation like this where you might decide you don't care about this, but at least for Navigator, this is a uniquely useful interaction. This combination of mods does get out of here. Do the thing. Negative duration makes the damage ramp up faster as you pilot the projectile, and you can overcap efficiency to offset that negative duration's drain while still having the negative duration, because nothing makes sense in Warframe. And that does have a uniquely powerful interaction with Navigator. You don't have to build Ivara this way, but I love this kind of thing because it's a really good starting point for builds, if that makes sense. Like, we can take this as a premise and say, okay, when we look at Helminth abilities. Now we could, for this build, we could look at Helminth abilities that are interested in like dumping duration, or they just don't care about duration, because we have gained something from dumping it. So that can be really helpful. Let's actually split here and say this feels like I don't know, that's pretty sick. Like I think Navigator is one of the abilities ever made, and so Ivara's kit, you know, will maybe do the thing. Let's actually look at that damage really quickly on those enemies that we just threw it at before, and see how relatively casually we can get it to do a ton of damage. Now again, I'm not entirely convinced this on its own really does that much. We still just have a kind of regular explosive that is doing a, you know, apocalyptic level of damage. But it's a good starting point for other Navigator uses. So that was an extremely short distance throw, of course. Let's do just a touch further. Not too much further. Wouldn't want that to be too impractical. I just completely missed, I think. Let's try again. Take out my Javlock. Yeah, okay, so that did much more substantial, but still kind of damage. Does the damage on Navigator cap? Or is the Javlock really fallen that far? Rest in peace, Javlock. Anyway, just quickly, since we're here, we came all this way. Look how much damage this makes a Sancti Castana throw do. Whee! Surprisingly not a particularly apocalyptic level of damage. Navigator has a strength-based cap that you're capping almost instantly now. Oh, interesting. Okay. So we would want to build significantly more strength. Well, that's a good comparison point. Let's do that. This split will be about Navigator stuff. Will there be a dedicated Prowl focus build, or do you feel like it's more mundane, easier to game out build? Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Prowl is, it feels a bit incidental. I mean, at least for Navigator, right? Navigator is quite setup heavy in my mind a lot of the time. And so a build that wants to use Navigator a lot, I mean, it certainly looks like Prowl will be a perfectly acceptable ability. Like, this build seems to have extremely efficient Prowl. We have the minimum drain per second on Prowl. I don't know. It's not looking to me like there will be much of a point in this build not being like the Prowl build. Kind of what I meant by I want the builds to be dense. A build focused on Prowl, it seems like, does get a payoff for Navigator if you want to use it. So I would say people who hate Navigator, you may still be interested in building a lot of efficiency. I don't know. It makes the steal time 20 seconds, lol. Okay, so that's one drawback. Anyway, right, we'll build some strength. So to recap, we've increased how fast Navigator's multiplier grows, but the cap is based on strength, so we need to build a lot of strength or it doesn't build up to a big damage multiplier. We're just going to slap on, maybe not Blind Rage, Umbrella Intensify, and some more small strength mods will be fine too. I'll do Power Drift, we'll add... realistically, Corrosive Projection is probably actually a pretty significant damage increase against Grineer on this build. And I'm also going to add... That's a lot, but we'll do Augur Secrets. And Amara's Hatred, no. Let's keep it at that. So we have 238%. Is this Navigator's cap 11.9x damage? And it grows by 8x per second. Oh, so it does immediately get capped, basically. Okay, wow. That's weird. Okay. Navigator is such an odd ability. Again, I hope you can understand that we need to pick and choose our fights here a little bit, because that's a lot. The Strength Arcane, maybe. Yeah, there's that Warframe Arcane where you leave your frame and transfer back in after using an operator ability, and then you get 45% strength for your next ability. It would be, you know, easy enough to set that up with with Navigator. So yeah, I mean, it's a little combo-y, but this entire thing is a little combo-y. Where are the enemies? Where are we going? Oh, Jesus. Okay. Yep. That killed 4. Alright, so, you know. Yeah. See, one bad thing about the Javelok is you do have to go pick it up afterward. And now these enemies are alerted, right? Yeah, man, I don't know. Like, that's some damage. Lol. Anyway, building a lot of strength would make it a lot better. Molt Augmented feels relevant, maybe. That could be cool. Yeah, stacking up to a good amount of strength. Isn't it like 60% total when you fully stack it? Molt Augmented. I don't have at the moment, but I think we mapped this out and it's 60% total strength or something. So that's cool. And then we just mentioned before, I'll briefly circle back to, if you wanted to use Molt Vigor, it would be, you know, easy enough to just go Operator, use an Operator ability, go back, and then cast Navigator after that to get 45% strength. That's pretty good for not that much. To be fair about Molt Augmented, you could use both. And the other thing is that, yeah, so Ragnavar says Molt Augmented in long survival, which Prowl trivializes. Sounds good. I'm not interested in that at all because I don't like doing really long missions. But that's a very good point. That definitely has synergy with a place where Ivara is often considered strong. But yeah, I'll put Molt Vigor on. That's something I'm interested in. You know, a great thing here is we're a stealth frame, so in theory we don't have to worry too much about staying alive. We have shields and an auger mod, so it should be quite easy to have shield gating keep us alive in the rare event that we get hit. One of the many advantages of being a stealth-based frame, we can make our build super greedy that way. So I'm totally fine with having all this strength. Bunatic, you said Zephyr's Airburst with Navigator is interesting. Airburst's damage is increased every time it strikes an enemy, and Piercing Navigator gives it punch through to hit a bunch of enemies before detonating. Cool. That's really cool. Let's look at that. Neat. Like that. Bust. Just to be clear, you, like me, may have briefly been thinking, wait, do you mean Airburst rounds, the augment? No, Airburst, the ability itself, increases damage every hit. Based on strength, probably, right? And the base damage would go up per hit. I wonder how much damage that would do. Yeah, I'll try this. That's neat. That's cool. Also, doesn't the augment also give you more damage per? Hold on. I don't know. I can get down with that. That's cool. Having a bunch of like different utility types of projectiles to control with Navigator is, I don't know, that seems thematic. That's cool. For the player that wants that type of thing, that seems awesome. Airburst augment. Each enemy hit by Airburst increases secondary damage by 25% for 14 seconds. If I recall, this doesn't cap, and it is based on strength and duration. So that's a bit, you know, but we don't have to have full negative duration. We can do something about that. We'll talk about the duration thing in a sec. But this is just a bonus, right? Yeah. Let's put let's do Airburst. That's cool. Fidudusa. Baby, I brought the food. Okay, where are we infusing? Not Navigator and not Prowl. That's my thing. Now Quiver with the augment for the dash wire will give the Javelok a big damage boost that I wasn't showing before. Whatever you're throwing, maybe not Airburst, but anyway. I don't want to remove Quiver. I want to remove Artemis Bow. It doesn't feel like this particular build is doing a lot with that. Of course, you can always go Concentrated Arrow. There's nothing wrong with that, but I'm going to remove Artemis Bow. I feel like if what we're doing is making a build that navigators around a bunch of stuff, like I'm not gonna end up doing Artemis bow, so I'm gonna take it off. Yeah, get rid of the bow. Kick the bow off the island. All right, well. The 500% cap for airburst rounds is not affected by mods. It does have a cap, darn it. What are you gonna do? Darn it. Thrax Plasm. Also feeding mutagen samples, which if you've played Warframe for a long time, might have given you a mild trauma response, like it just gave me. But it makes sense, I have plenty of them now. Dang it, more caps. Yeah, I find the caps frustrating as well. But what are you gonna do? Airburst rounds has got us once again. Now, again, just before Airburst itself gets the damage increase, but just quickly to reestablish that Airburst rounds, this buff, lots of damage. The thing is, it's a 14-second duration, which has been reduced to 1.75 seconds due to our negative duration. However, we've established that with this kind of negative duration, you hit the cap on the damage for Navigator so fast, it like doesn't even really matter that you have full negative duration. We could definitely drop some. So like even just moving fleeting up to rank 3 gives you 5 seconds of airburst duration. And you could even just not worry about the negative duration thing that much. You could not focus on it, is what I mean. I'm not really sure how I would finagle that. That's weird. That is a bit of a tension. You know, we have something where you'd want high duration. I guess you can redo it kind of easily. I don't know. Let's not worry about that. I'm gonna go back to this, and I'm also gonna do that augment for Dashwire. Here it is, if you're not familiar. Dashwire grants allies 100% critical damage while you're standing on it. And Cloak Arrow also makes you immune to status effects, like knockdown, too. This has great synergy with dumping duration. Dashwire doesn't have a duration, and it does scale with strength, the critical damage boost. Sweet. You do have the option, yeah, multi-efficiency. This is an arcane that gives you duration while your shields are active. Should be quite easy. You get 36%. If you wanted to keep the high efficiency, but get some duration, I don't know. Like, I don't think this will result in airburst rounds having good duration. So I'm not sure how much, but it's an option. Thank you for bringing it up. I'm gonna try. We're just gonna hit some enemies with this. Actually, after the break, because that, crazy as it is, that's half the stream we just did. But this is gonna be a starting point for this approach to a build, and then we'll look at, you know, what else would you want to do? I hope you can all now see what I meant when I said, you know, like fitting as much as possible into. I've made that point in previous live shows, but it looks like you can pretty easily fit most of the things that Ivara does well into 2 builds. This one, and then one that doesn't dump duration and focuses more on range. Probably that build will mostly be like Cloak and Sleep Arrow and Concentrated Arrow, the Artemis Bow augment. I'm quite keen on that, personally. I really like Concentrated Arrow. And it clearly, it's looking for some kind of different things from this. At least that's my opinion. Maybe not. Negative duration isn't bad for Concentrated Arrow. I don't know. Maybe not, but that's it feels like 2-ish builds. You see what I'm trying to say? You might not feel that way. That's fine. But I feel like the amount of design space for us to discuss it feels like it's about there. Glorious. Cool. Okay. Before I take a quick break and then we get back to it, I just want to thank a few people for supporting the show. Got a lot of subs today, folks. Thank you very much. I know I was out last week. It is common for me to get slightly more subs when I've been gone for a week, because people were going to do it the previous week and then they do it that week. But it's still very generous of you all. It's always a good reminder just how many people do that. There's a lot of Twitch subs. I said before, earlier in the stream, that's the largest number of people who support what I'm doing financially. So it makes a pretty big difference. Y'all pay a bit every month, and that's the reason I'm able to keep doing this. If you didn't, I would have to stop. So thank you very much. Specifically, Yatagami, you were gifted a sub by Asymptomatic. Synthrone and True Mr. Fruit, thank you for the recent subs. Enjoy your time in the gun ports of the Zandy vessel. And thank you to all the new follows. A lot of you folks, we've actually had no new follows this stream to my knowledge. But you folks followed while I was offline. Welcome aboard. Specifically, more recently, Reaper13, 4 days ago. Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome aboard if you happen to be lurking. Hope to hear from you at some point, or if you enjoy lurking more, that's fine too. Thanks for joining us. And I will be right back. Hey there, welcome back to Parley, my Twitch ARRchive Parley segment. Parley is a little series that I do on another one of my YouTube channels. People support me monthly, entertaining you with the live shows, the other stuff I make. They pay me $9 a month, and they get a video about the topic of their choice. Kind of like a very involved version of a Q&A series for money. And Twitch ARRchive Parley is the little mini version of that I do for free, where people can submit questions for free, and I use that as a way to entertain you during the little break in our show today. Today's question is from Sam Wise, who asked, what do you do when you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed? It seems like you always find streams energizing. Interesting. Does it seem that way? I guess that's true. That's not untrue. Anyway, and you've often mentioned that it's really therapeutic for you. You've used that verbiage. I have, but how? Why? What? It just kind of goes into questions. Yes, what's up with that? Sure, I can kind of answer that. So I think there are two things going on here. The first one is about comfort, basically, or kind of personality styles. I've always been really bothered by the introvert versus extrovert thing. I think that anytime that there are buckets you can put people in, they're always kind of wrong. People just really like them because they're convenient or whatever. But this is a case where, you've got to make a trade-off. Obviously, it's a trade-off. There are people that seem to be more introverted and seem to be more extroverted. So it's helpful to some extent to categorize people that way. But then it's also not that simple. So what is the trade-off? How unlike that are people actually? What oversimplification is being made, and is that unhelpful? How much? It always is an oversimplification, but does it really matter that much? Is it useful to think about the specificity? I always think yes, but that's not practical. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder why it's energizing to some and not to others. We all have different amounts of, you might call them spoons, I guess, right? The amount of energy we have, I guess, like mental decision energy. I don't know. Somebody define spoon while we're talking about this. You've heard this term, some of you, like how many running out of spoons in the day. And I just have a lot of whatever that resource is. So I think one reason is that I'm just game for it. I have a lot of energy, not necessarily a lot of physical energy. I'll share with you, chat, that I'm a pretty depressed person, not necessarily consciously or anything. Like, I experience a lot of physiological depression. I don't know why. A lot of us do. I just do. We're humans. I don't know. So it's not because I'm bouncing off the walls or something. It's really quite the opposite of that. It's something about, I don't know what that thing is about people where people will sometimes be energized by an interaction and sometimes not. There's that. And then the other element is, I think, flow. Flow being that kind of state between something being demanding enough but not too demanding, and that you're comfortable with enough but it's not too comfortable, that it holds your attention but you're very capable. And humans are more than the sum of their parts when they hit that flow state. They do better than factors would suggest if they can hit that balance correctly. One of the things that I try to do, because this career is something that I made for myself, nobody else really does it quite this way, it's something I made custom for me, is of course I tried to make it something that makes me hit my flow state. I want it to take me out of my comfort zone a very calibrated amount, and I think I've succeeded at that. And so I just genuinely like doing these things. Even in spite of myself, I felt like garbage before starting to record today. And I feel better. I don't feel great, but I feel a lot better. And I think it's because this is just like I've brought out the best in what I can currently do right now. I don't know. It's a great thing. So that's my answer, I guess. Like, that's why it helps. That's why I like it. On with the show. And a few more quick thank yous to other folks who supported the show more directly. Dinsoro, my most recent patron. You supported me on Patreon for $9 a month at my Parley tier. So you get a video on the topic of your choice every month. This month you asked me about a lightweight tabletop RPG based on Destiny. There's also another one by the same author that's an adaptation of Warframe. It was pretty interesting. This one uses, instead of rolling a d20 to resolve like checks and stuff, you jump over a gap or whatever, rather than rolling a d20 and adding your bonus. This one, you roll a number of d6s equal to your bonus, and you take only the highest one. So a pretty different approach that has some implications. And it's also got an interesting way of adapting Destiny into a tabletop RPG. So that was quite interesting. Thank you for your support. I really enjoyed that topic. I really like game design of tabletop RPGs. It's just very interesting. The benefits of manipulating a physical object, even that part, you could talk a lot about. So yeah, thank you for your support. It means a lot. I actually got another Parley patron at the exact same time as you, so I'm going to thank them now as well. That's Free William. You're returning after a little while. You were one of my first patrons years ago, so thank you very much as well. After this, I'm going to put Free William up there, but you both patroned at basically the same time, so I wanted to give you both a highlight. Free William, thank you very much. And thank you, Shalstep, for the $290 tip. The tip I got the most recently, but it was a little while ago. It was around the time of my birthday. Thank you very much, Shalstev. Hope you're having a good one. You're often lurking, but you have been in a lot of the streams as well, so hope you're having a good one today. Thank you very much for the support. And here we are. I wanted to briefly discuss like usability for the whole Navigator thing. Some of you might be thinking, well, this feels a little contrived though, right? Like, does it really make sense to pilot around a single projectile to do the big bongo damage? And I wanted to kind of talk about a few things about that. Now, one that I talked about earlier is that if you can snapshot stuff into Sancti Castanas, and then these are detonatable. So if you can use Navigator and fly this into the ground with like a 12x damage multiplier, and then it stays there, and you could just detonate it whenever you want with that damage multiplier, which it appears to save. That could be useful like in between waves in a defense mission or an interception, for example. You could set up these extremely high damage mines when you couldn't possibly have damaged enemies anyway because they haven't spawned yet. And then you have that there, ready to go when enemies do spawn. That is definitely helpful. Now, if you don't spend the time doing that, obviously it doesn't do anything. But that is a different way of dealing damage. It's almost like no matter how much setup that took, it automatically becomes worthwhile because you couldn't have done anything to the enemy as they haven't spawned yet. So that's a pretty unique form of utility. Likewise, I saw somebody mention the idea of, airburst rounds we were talking about before the break. Well, with this build, it would have very low duration. You could add a little bit of duration, and then the damage bonus of this will probably snapshot to benefit, your Castanas, right? That's true. The problem is that when you're setting up the Castanas for that mine between rounds, when enemies haven't spawned, you won't have targets for this. So in practice, I don't think that will really do the thing. It's an interesting idea. There might be a situation you could fly around your Castana for a long time. During the wave, you get a big airburst rounds. You immediately snapshot it into a Castana with Navigator. You fly it around until the end of the wave, and then you plant it on the ground. But that just seems a bit contrived. I don't know. I'm not convinced that would really gain you anything. So I hope that's a simple example of what I mean by like the things being practical. I think that the Castanas thing, it might sound like a lot of setup, but you'd be doing it when nothing else was happening, and you couldn't have otherwise furthered the mission. That's why I think the airburst round snapshotting thing probably, And second of all, flying around like the Javelok or something. Now, I do think it's important to note that the appeal of a build like this is to some extent that it's a different way to still complete the mission. You'll complete the mission just fine, and it lets you do it while playing the game a different way. That is kind of the point of Buildcraft. I think that in Warframe, you can pretty easily see how it's not like it doesn't matter how much damage you do at all, but you can do a pretty loosey-goosey amount of damage. We're not DPS racing enemies. You can get the mission done just fine, often gaining no more time than if you did it, relatively slower, by using things that do significantly less damage. Sometimes you gain something by doing a lot more, sometimes you don't. And at that point, it's about the player getting to choose from different options to do that damage. I think this is a pretty good example of that. If this... Navigator doesn't work on this, as far as I can tell. Airburst and Navigator don't interact, near as I can tell. You have to cast Navigator after you throw it out. That's weird. Hold on one sec. Okay, hold on. We'll do it this way. Oh, yeah, okay, that does work. Before we go any further, we have to do the obligatory Warframe thing. Who even knows if that's, like, supposed to work that way or if it's just a bug? So it might get removed. Invest your resources in this at your own risk. In my opinion, this is one of the worst things about Warframe, is that this doesn't give me energy because I'm channeling something. It's just not really possible to know whether this will remain in the game for any meaningful length of time. So you decide for yourself. I don't know what to say. The timing is probably just very tight, and I'm just not good at it yet, so give me a secco. Okay, it also explodes on, like, a pebble. There we are. Okay, it does look quite cool once you're flying it around, and I crashed it into something because the hitbox is gigantic. So again, like, as much as, like, haha, Zandy's terrible at this thing, this is a problem because a lot of Warframe missions are like this. But realistically, that means maybe you do this in, like, a defense or a mobile defense or an open world mission. Let's just go do that quickly. We'll pick a more open map. Like, I'll just pick a defense. Maybe there'll be a good, nope.
Whoa, it's a Zandy stream. Neat.
Love those. Emily, thank you for the tier 1 sub for 21 months. Welcome back. Right now we're trying to, I was talking about some practicality stuff with the Navigator focused setup. I know a lot of people said, like, I'm just, in practice, really never going to use Navigator, which I get that. At the same time, I wanted to talk about its relative practicality. I was just demonstrating how it seems like you can control Airburst. It's a little unclear whether that's just a bug or a spaghetti code that will not even deliberately be removed. It will just kind of end up not in the game. Who knows? Because it isn't like you cast Navigator and then Airburst. You have to cast Airburst and then Navigator. And now you're flying it around, and Navigator gives projectiles punch through. So the idea is that this can then hit a bunch of enemies, and Airburst has a property where it does more damage per enemy it hits. Normally, that's, it's a little AoE thing, but this would maybe ramp that up. So let's try it. Let's try that. We'll shoot it up. And again, you need a lot of space for that, so in many Warframe tiles that simply will not work. But there definitely are a lot where it will. So, okay, so we're hitting some enemies here. A lot of those enemies did not die. I didn't hit a ton of enemies, though. I'll see if I can hit these guys before they make me lose the mission. Alright, we got them grouped up. Again, good for a test. Let's get in there. Oh. Oh. I saw some enemies die, I think, right? Maybe. Oh. Oh. Oh, okay. The explosion itself maybe didn't do that much. That looked sort of okay. This setup is a lot worse than I expected. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, that's why we do these, right? Take it or leave it. I think that how far the Airburst has to go and the hitbox size makes that kind of, like, it's not going to be usable often enough. That was a pretty generous tile to test that on, and it's still kind of but you would get, that's one of those where you get a lot better at it if you did it more. So it's a bit unfair for this format. You know, if that interested you, give it a try. Your patience for the abort mission screen is awe-inspiring. It really is. I thank you. That's one of my better qualities. I really appreciate that. I work hard on that aspect of myself. Thank you very much, Stensoro. Bat's eyelashes. Anyway, I just wanted to do a little segment because we've spent almost the entire thing talking about Navigator shenanigans. I wanted to spend a little segment talking about like the practicality of flying things around with Navigator. Now, I'd like to do just a little bit of time playing the build, like actually playing the build, doing the empowered quiver dash wire thing to get the big bongo damage. How much damage do these things do? Like, we're going to do that now. Not for nothing, we haven't talked about companions yet, but the Nautilus pulling enemies together has been doing some work with this loadout. That's cool. And it appears to work even if you're stealthed. It looks like that was happening. I guess ain't broke, don't fix it. We'll leave it on. Pretty good default Sentinel anyway, but that's been gas for like a lot of this. I feel like that's been really good. This is one of those things in Warframe. It's like right now there isn't a mission that is rewarding for me to do that is hard enough to meaningfully test this, you know? We could try Hydron if it's populated. But it isn't. Well, we could still do it. We're just going to lose really quickly. That's okay, I suppose. A big frustration with Warframe. We'll drop in. Emily, just to clarify, this is Steel Path Hydron too, so that's part of why. But people sometimes level here, I don't know. Tank up some energy real quick. Swap to dash wires. Fire one with a nice little vantage point. We'll, did that a bit early. Pop on here. Activate Navigator. And away we go. Okay. Now see, the thing about that is that you have to go get your Javelok after every throw. So we'll put that mine down. So you'd want something to throw, like a glaive, probably, infinitely, and then you have your big bongo damaged Javelok throw. Where'd my Javelok even go? Oh, it just came back after. It does just come back after a while, I guess. That's something. Let's check out this big damage before the mission is destroyed. We will yeetus deletus them with the power of the... Okay, so again, like adequate damage, yeah. The Javelok alone, definitely not adequate for our purposes. You can pretty clearly see. But the critical damage from Dashwire does a lot. And it's very satisfying to watch the Javelok spin. We were talking about that earlier. Oh! It comes back to you pretty quick. Wow. Okay, no, that they changed that. I've used the Javlock for a very long time, you see. Oh, okay, there we go. And so back in the day, I had to walk all the way down to the station to use my Javlock. We'll fail the mission before I can cancel. Okay. So now it comes back to really, really quick. Yeah, mixed feelings, but good for this build. That's cool. Yeah. It's an extremely safe way to do a ton of explosive damage. And it looks really cool while it's flying around. Now, again, in practice, should you just use like the Tonkor or something and control one of the explosives? Yeah, like, yeah. But we touched on this earlier. I wanted to circle back quickly to the point that by using negative duration, you can activate Navigator for a very short amount of time and still max out the damage bonus. You don't have to fly the projectile around a bunch to build up damage. By building like this, we've got negative duration, and then we're overstacked on efficiency, which offsets negative duration for channeled ability drain. We have an ability where it doesn't cost that much to use Navigator, but we have the full benefit of negative duration makes the multiplier build up faster. This means that you can fire a weapon just normally with Navigator active and not even really pilot the projectile, just let it hit a wall you shot directly at, and you will suddenly get a very large damage boost. You'll benefit from, you know, I don't know, use it with the Kuva, what's that, the bow that people have said the name of so much I can't remember anymore. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, you know, whatever explosive weapon of your choice. You absolutely could use that this way, and it would be very useful in your everyday run-of-the-mill Warframe missions. That's a thought, if it's something you're interested in. It's funny, though, I'm almost more interested in doing this with... We didn't have Piercing Navigator that whole time, including while doing the airburst thing. That's something to think about, but again, it's very hard to set up. You could put the concentrated arrow augment in here and try to squeeze some range. And yeah, I don't know. Like, you just have a weird variety of explosives to use. Again, the idea of like setting up the Kastanas with a bunch of snapshotted strength for the big damage, it is kind of offset by this weapon not doing the big damage, but it's still a cool idea. During downtime between defense waves, you could just plant them in choke points, and then you'd have like a nice opening volley. You can't save that many at once, unfortunately. I don't know, but that's kind of cool. I think that's kind of cool. Maybe we make something concentrated arrow focused now, and then folks can decide. I wasn't too happy with airburst. It's a cool idea though. You could take it off and maybe do that on this build, but we'll do a separate one. And I put Spellbind on this build. Classic. Classic me move to do that. Well done by past me. So, okay, here we have Artemis Bow. Yeah, and for me, the big thing with Concentrated Arrow is the explosion radius. But yeah, we'll get into that a little bit. Bennett, welcome back. How you doing? We're bit of the way through. Spent a lot of time on Navigator, an ability I've always found really interesting. It's funny, Ivara has a lot of effects. I just don't have a ton to say about, like, Quiver has many uses. There's just not much to say about them, I don't think. For Buildcraft purposes, it does a lot of things. But we talked a lot about Navigator, a bit about Prowl. I think in practice, this will feel like a kind of bread and butter ability to a lot of people. You could definitely remove this, but there are a lot of benefits to keeping it on. It's just such an easy solution to stealth and survivability. And headshot damage multiplier for Concentrated Arrow. If you were thinking of removing this with Concentrated Arrow, do note that you have to get a headshot for this trigger, and Prowl does give you a headshot damage multiplier, so... let's put on some range and strength. Just to get us started. Some modest range and strength stats. Again, for me, the draw with Concentrated Arrow is the explosive radius can be really, really good, really large. And the critical chance thing, in theory, I like the idea of building a ton of range. We don't even have that much strength. We'll build some strength. Because it just does so much damage. Like, I almost feel like you don't even really need... The crit chance isn't affected by strength. But the damage of Artemis Bow is, so we probably want to build some. What are you gonna do? Dump duration again. See, this is what's interesting to me, right? Like, it kind of feels like we're now gonna end up going in the direction of this build. Except the damage cap is based on, so now we need to build a bunch of strength, kind of. I don't know. They're close, but I won't force them to be the same build as much as I would love to. We'll take growing power and more strength. We could probably do blind rage and then just offset a bit of that. Like, again, essentially making the build we made before. Yeah. Yeah. I live for this personally. Like, I think you should just use one build, and it's this. This has so many of the benefits of the other build. The efficiency is a lot worse, but it's not bad. And we weren't planning to fly Navigator around that much anyway. Now the problem is that Prowl doesn't cost a particularly low amount of energy here. We do have a little more space for efficiency. You know, we'll slap an aura form on here. All right. Yeah. And then put on streamline. I mean, I don't know, live a little. This is a lot of energy, but like, yeah. Que sera sera, you know? Come see, come sa. Welcome back, Audio Forces. I don't know, man. I'm kind of digging this. Let's see how atrocious the drain is on Prowl. This is a lot of the benefits of the previous build. I don't know. I mean, the drain on Navigator is now ridiculous, but you're only planning to do it for like 1 second, so it's probably fine. Right? I don't know. It seems fine to me. You could... We don't have the dash wire augment. Give me the... Oh, we gotta get this in here. What are we taking off for this? Okay, here's the thing. So, because of the weird math gunk, you'll notice that here with Prowl, when I remove Streamline, we actually didn't gain a benefit in drain per second because of the weird interaction between the duration and the efficiency thing with channel abilities. So let's just sneak on Empowered Quiver. Are we putting Piercing Navigator on too? Am I going to use this the way that I'm using it? No. And then again, you can add, we talked about using Molt Vigor before. I don't own Molt Augmented. But yeah, there are lots of ways you could fiddle with this. You could remove Blind Rage for Intensify. I don't own Molt Augmented, but that's some strength and you wouldn't lose efficiency. Which, like, that's good. That's a good idea. I want to see our concentrated arrow damage. So what I'm going to do is... We're not going to do Marinara. I'm just going to shoot some things and look at the damage. Oh, we didn't mod out the bow. Ah! We got to do that. That's fairly important. Yes, the Artemis bow mods. As a matter of fact... What do we got? Does split chamber do the thing here? If we're planning to pilot it, maybe we won't use this. I've had a lot of good experiences with Hunter Munitions, if you know what I'm saying. But I'm not sure here, depending on how much you're going to pilot the individual arrow, that might not be that consistent. Viral, well, with Hunter Munitions. If we're planning to kill with upfront damage, I might change that, though. I will Bane the Grenier. Polarities. I'm swapping that to a V. Yeah, and people were saying using efficiency, excuse me, to get back a bit of duration. Like, it's pretty much free here. You're going to be stealthed a lot of the time, and we do have an auger mod, so you will have shields active essentially all the time, which means usually this will give you 36% duration. That decreases the build's drain by a lot. And remember, this probably snapshots. You probably save what you have when you use this, rather than it dynamically updating. Which means that in practice, if you have shields at the beginning, you prowl, you're just going to have that the whole time. So that's nice. Again, let's just look at the damage. Let's play around a little bit with the results of just making it into a concentrated arrow build. Audio Forces, welcome back. Audio Forces is colluding with the enemy to distract me. I was away last week as well. Welcome back. Good to see you. How you doing? We're Oh right, this is how you do this. I ran out of energy. Okay. Okay, hold on. I'm not even entirely sure why I ran out of energy there. One sec. Well, taking out the bow, that doesn't drain anything. Ivara's like, you idiot. Oh. You're immune to energy pads while you have the bow out, even though it doesn't charge energy per second. Ooh. That's bad. That's not good. That is bad. Oh. Okay. Oh, I missed the head because that enemy walked in front. Oh, they're walking in front again. Okay. So my ability to get headshots with Artemis Bow is apparently a garbage fire. I would also say the energy isn't feeling great, but there are more things you could do about that. We haven't done a whole lot about that. But I don't know. I mean, just using Artemis Bow and getting headshots without the aid of this other stuff has been known to be pretty effective. I'm just gonna do that for a little while. You can sleep them before shooting for easier headshots, but that's more energy you have to pay too. Okay, got jabronied by probably don't use your companion pulling them together for this build. But yeah, I mean, since the dawn of time, people have demonstrated how concentrated arrow is obviously like pretty good. It does the thing. And having that while also having the weird navigator utility seems fun. I don't know, like that seems cool. On Artemis Bow specifically, maybe not the most necessary, but hi. Okay. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of feels like you can fit them both in. Would you want to use both? I don't know. Oh. Okay. I don't know. That was an apocalyptic level of damage. Wow. So yeah, as you can see, like, among the things you would want with Concentrated Arrow, I'm not sure a damage multiplier is particularly high on my shopping list. It just doesn't seem fully necessary. But you do get the option to, like, leave the damaging mine with the Kastanas. That's a thing you get in the same kit. I don't know. I guess you get, like, a big bongo burst option if you want to sleep arrow and then line up the shot. I ran out of energy. And do big damage. But again, the energy needs are really not there. So I guess let's just polish it here at the end. And that'll be our show. What time is it? Pretty much on time, surprisingly enough. But yeah, I don't know. You know, this is one of those builds where I feel like you're so close to having enough room to get all the the comfort, the quality of life that I would want, but it's just a tiny bit behind. I don't know. I don't have all the relevant stuff. We talked about how the molt mod that I'm constantly getting the name of confused, but the one where you get strength as you get kills and it builds up over time, molt augmented, would be really good here, I think. That would, I think, feel great in a lot of missions. Molt vigor for the navigator thing, that's good. Concentrated arrow, I don't know. So I would like to have this if I could. And yeah, now we'll kind of just talk odds and ends here at the end. But a pretty successful little approach that I hope people have fun with. A way to make a build that does some stuff with Navigator without like focusing entirely on it, if that's what you want. And the first time we've done a live show for Warframe where I haven't felt like a Helminth ability necessarily made the builds better. I think the concentrated arrow thing is preference to some extent. You could as well use like a really good explosive weapon. You absolutely could. This has advantages, and again, finagling around the efficiency is relevant to this build. Possibly just dropping Blind Rage and running, again, Intensify, and then it would really help if you had Molt Augmented, like Pixel was suggesting. It might just be worth avoiding the drain, but we have such massive negative duration that efficiency bump actually didn't increase the drain, decrease the drain on the stealth. So that's weird, bad. And really it's Molt efficiency then, getting that duration back that maybe you want. So that's a thing. Now, certainly for concentrated arrow, Nautilus is terrible because you'll pull enemies out of your headshot that you're lining up. And I was looking for some energy. This is a case where maybe a Sahasa Kubro feels good. Being able to dig up ammo and stuff. Now, it won't dig if there's enemies around or it's moving, which makes this very bad a lot of the time. But Ivara might check some of those conditions, so I would recommend giving this a try. Depending on playstyle and where you're using this may work. It'll dig up what you need. It digs up a ton of energy, as long as it does dig it up. So this seems like, in theory, a really good solution. I'll leave that there. And focus, I didn't really talk about that much. I'm not really sure here. You could, Madurai has that one strength buff for 20 seconds when you do a chain sling. You void dash a bunch of times in a row. Yeah, you could enable that. I don't know. Unairu, like you could remove armor from a group of enemies in a pinch. A concentrated arrow certainly doesn't need it. I don't know. Xeneric, again, you won't regenerate the energy because you'll be channeling an ability. And of course, as usual, you could use Death Cube with Energy Generator, but in a lot of contexts, it probably won't shoot the enemies because you'll be stealthed. So that's what I'm worried about that. But it's good to bring it up. That's the absolutely Sid happens the academic approach to getting the energy back with a companion. What about Xeneric for free casts? Interesting. Will this give you a free use of like an Artemis bow shot or Navigator? That actually seems kind of good. That's interesting. Yeah. Xeneric for more headshot damage. Is that a thing that happens? Where? Does that happen? Is there headshot damage in Xeneric? I don't think that's a thing. Bionic Bee, it doesn't work with Drain. Inner Might won't work with Drain, as far as I know. Oh, headshot damage if you do your slow on them. That's a lot of setup, but yeah, that's a thing that exists. If you wanted to just horribly murder, I feel like it's not worth the setup though. It'd be better to just shoot twice. I don't know. Yeah, anyway. And Inner Might only works for initial cost. That might still be a good idea. I'll quickly check if Inner Might works for Artemis bow shots, because that actually would be kind of nice. while we talk about other stuff. I saw something come up a few times that I wanted to come back to about the catabolist. It's been so long I don't remember what the catabolist is, so I will go back to that and we'll talk about it. You'll have to pitch me what that does. And Linnercy, you said, what about ditching invisibility and trying to make her tanky with rage quick thinking? Not that you shouldn't do that if you're interested in it, but my approach when I do these is always to talk about what I feel like the frame can do uniquely, and there just isn't any benefit to doing that on Ivara specifically. There's no reason for Ivara to do that instead of like essentially any other Warframe. So while you might prefer that, and that's not wrong, there might be a player who likes... what I'm imagining is this player really enjoys Artemis Bow, but simply doesn't want to focus on being stealthed. Wants to use that weapon without moving slowly from point to point. And you could absolutely make Ivara tanky, so you could do that. That's not wrong, I don't begrudge you that. I just don't have a lot to say about it. That's a very personal approach. Something that you do because of your own preferences. I hope that makes sense. Again, I don't think that I get that. Like, I guess. You can absolutely play fast and loose with, like, you fire off a quick sleep arrow and then quickly give the enemies a big... Okay, hold on. A big bongo headshot. Move more quickly from enemy to enemy. That makes total sense to me. Why you'd want to do that, I just feel like it definitely doesn't embrace what is unique about Artemis, Ivara. At least that's how I think of it. I hope that makes sense. Again, nothing wrong with doing that. All right, I'm not doing my job. I need to stand still for a minute and see if you get a free Artemis bow shot. Ivartemis, classic. Gotta have Ivartemis. You get a buff in the top corner when you get a free cast with Xeneric, right? And we're headless. We can't cast it because it's not active. Does it show you a buff in the corner when you've got your inner might? Okay, I'll just wait until we get it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. Artemis bow shots don't consume inner might. They also don't benefit from it. Navigator does. Not sure I think that's worth it, but that's how it works. Quick thing to test in a moment. Let me look at the catabolist. Is that a secondary? My memory is saying that's a secondary. Yep. Oh, the ball sack grenade thing. Oh, wait, that's really cool because you can control the ball sack. Oh, that's such a janky thing. Okay, yeah, let's briefly play with that. Ball sack grenade, yes, thank you, good. Love feeling confident that I've understood the audience's intentions correctly. Okay. Synth charge shenanigans work here because of the weird... It's already on there. Oh, baby. Oh, we're throwing ball sacks tonight. Okay. Yeah, all right, so let me refresh my memory about this weapon. Crit chance, meh. Crit multiplier, good. Synth charge, ooh. Base damage, okay. And then elements. What's up with the fire rate? Is this to empty it faster or something? Is that what I'm doing? And does the ballsack grenade get a multiplier from multi-shot even though it isn't gonna do more damage with multi-shot? Fire rate to empty ballsack faster. This is the whole thing. Navigated synth charge Katab ballsack does hilarious amounts of damage. Ah, yes, Katab ballsack. That's Yatagami, man. You get sleep deprived more often. Please get some sleep. Somebody asked Yatagami Odin how they're doing all these zingers, and they said sleep deprivation or something to that effect. Please go to bed. It's like we like the punniness in moderation. And something that I love about you all, my community, is that this is one of the only examples of a community on the internet that you can combine punniness and moderation. Like, there's not an annoying amount of it, in my opinion. I get annoyed by that type of thing pretty easily, and I appreciate that you all have actually pretty clever ones for. Anyway, Linners, you said, what did the Navigator augment do again? You every time you hit an enemy while flying it around, you get critical chance and punch through. So sometimes bad if you want the weapon to explode, sometimes good if you want to cleave through a bunch of enemies. And then you asked about the dash wire one. We talked about that a lot earlier. Pretty good. The basic thing with this is when you're on a dash wire, you get a big critical damage buff that scales with strength. Pretty powerful since dash wires have no duration. If you're in a defense mission, this is a pretty free, rather large critical damage buff. And it does also make cloak arrows make you immune to status effects, including like knockdown and stuff too. A pretty good augment, in my opinion. Maybe a little boring, but it's very effective. People like big numbers. I don't know. I don't really care about big numbers, but it is a very good crit damage buff. And then you get the utility of the status effect removal. Also not a summer person. Please give me back 40-degree Fahrenheit weather. Yeah, some of you might know this is a real thing. I have a condition where if my body temperature rises a bit past kind of whatever my body's equilibrium point is or whatever. So if I get hot, like not naturally, that's came out wrong. It's hot out, and it's not because I'm like working out or something, or sometimes you go to bed and you get hot. That doesn't set it off. But if I get a bunch of heat coming in really quickly, anyway, I get extremely painful burning hives all over my body. So the summer makes me want to die. Like it's so bad. Like I almost medically cannot go outside. I hate it. I like taking a walk every day. Why? Why does that have to be like this? It's the worst. Anyway, so why so much range? Just if you're going to use concentrated arrow, the very high 7-meter base explosive radius is modified by range, which means you can get it up to 19.6 meters. But if you're not going to use this, it doesn't do a ton. Obviously, it does affect like sleep arrow and the stealth arrow, but we've dumped duration, so those don't do much. Thank you for asking. Because you also reminded me that I wanted to look at... Why did I not go to this before? So, does Prime Firestorm work here, or is this just a spaghetti code situation? Because concentrated arrow does explode. Is this a separate multiplier with the radius, or no? Firestorm is additive. That's still really good because circles. Because the radius, the more of a radius you have, the more the circle does the geometry thing. The circle covers more area, the more equivalent increases in radius increase the area covered by more. I did graduate high school. Come on, that was like just barely, right? And coherent. Yeah. Can you see that in the arsenal? That'd be convenient. You can't. But Bunatic says it works and is additive, which I would say because of the nature of radius, I would say yes. Not a separate multiplier, but still good. A range is just really good. It's one of the best stats to stack a lot of the time because of the radius thing that I stumbled through a minute ago. You're sadly unable to prime fulminate your ball sack on that note. Yes, there's a whole thing in Warframe right now where these mods are equipable on a lot of weapons on which they do nothing. I just want to quickly say, not to particularly distrust Bunatic or anyone else. We don't have time for me to test this. I want to do the ball sack thing really quick. But just to be clear that I haven't actually checked that this works, it would be trivially easy to do so. It would just take time that we could be spending on this before I have to go. Okay, so what are we building here? Empty the thing. You have to empty it to do the damage. Wait, but do you... All right, let's look at the... Forget about the damage. Let's look at the work flow on getting the sack grenade to do the thing. So you empty the weapon. Right, we're prowling. And now you... Oh. It's not silenced, so forgot about that. Ah. Oh, right, and then you separately click to reload. Okay, good. The flow is actually pretty good. So you empty it, and then it doesn't reload right away. It waits for you to be ready. You do this. And then reload. And we're flying, baby! Oh. Hold on, something went wrong. Probably on my end. Alright, we navigate. Reload. Whee! I think I missed. Hold on. My dog is digging me up energy so good. Hold on one sec. Also, we should silence it so it doesn't break stealth like that. That would make this way easier. Okay, yeah, I mean, it did good damage. Ow, ah. Yeah, you definitely want to silence it. That's a whole thing. If we hit right away... Okay, I mean, that was like 500,000 damage, so... I don't know. Again, we're not even really built with good damage multipliers against... You'd probably build corrosive and cold. Yeah! Let's briefly look at the builds for that. It is a lot of damage. Linear CU said, have we reached the cap with the drain on Prowl? We have kind of bad drain on Prowl at the moment, actually. There's a whole section of the stream I can't get into right now. But the short version is that we got into this thing where Navigator builds up its damage multiplier quicker if you have negative duration. And then you know how channeled abilities do that thing where it's like duration and efficiency over 175% will offset the negative duration. Anyway, on this build, building the range for Concentrated Arrow has saddled us with a situation where Navigator and Prowl have kind of bad drain per second, and running a little bit of efficiency isn't enough to offset it because of the way that we've dumped duration. That's the short version. I know that's a bit of an oversimplification. We set up a build here where we kind of address that. You can see here we have a similar build that doesn't have the range, but Prowl's drain is really low, like much, much lower. So if you don't care about doing the Prowl thing, Concentrated Arrow thing, you could drop Concentrated Arrow, drop the range, and run some other Helminth ability, which is good. Like, that would be good. Incidentally, if you do that, you could use Spellbind with Spellbind Harvest as a really good way to get energy back. Although the default radius of this is really low, so you'd want to group enemies up first. But that's a thought. You could consider that. I don't know. Maybe Concentrated Arrow doesn't feel worth it to me. Thanks for asking, Literacy, because now that I come back to it, it's like, maybe I want this build instead, but with Spellbind. And Spellbound Harvest here, I guess. I don't know. So hopefully you all feel like that helped you make the decision. But let's... what was I just about to talk about? Oh, the Catabolist. Yes. Because the Catabolist, yes, has innate corrosive. Yes, this weapon has very good elements for that. We can run Expel Grenier. We can run a little bit of Cold. And we can even use Ice Storm. Wait, no, we want small magazine, right? The ballsack grenade thing doesn't do more damage based on magazine size, right? That's what my memory is saying about this weapon. Is that true? Kind of given up on status chance, maybe, because it's either a beam weapon or... You could, Linersy. The goal of these streams is not to describe every possible build that would be good. You could, of course, keep Concentrated Arrow, get some duration, and forget about Navigator. I just think that build would be extremely straightforward to build. That's exactly what I think I was enjoying the most before this stream. I think a lot of people would really like that. I'm not here to cover every build. I simply don't have time. That's a great approach. Like I'm totally with you. I like Sleep Arrow into Concentrated Arrow. Like personally, I'm a big fan. It feels good to get the alt fire for the quick one, and then you charge up the big shot and everything dies. That was what I was using with Ivara before this stream. I should have included a quick little bit about that at the beginning, but that's why we didn't spend a lot of time on it. I just feel like it's straightforward, very good, enjoyable, pretty signature Ivara too. You just don't get Navigator, which I think is the most unique thing Ivara does. Maybe also kind of the worst thing Ivara does. But it does do a lot of damage, and you don't, at the beginning of the stream, a lot of people were talking about how they feel like it's kind of impractical in normal gameplay in Warframe because it takes a long time for the damage to wind up, and it doesn't have to. Like that doesn't have to be the case. I'm quite satisfied that we did that and looked at a few different approaches to try to get Concentrated Arrow in there too. You could fiddle around with it more than we have. I think I probably will right at the end here. Let's quickly build this out first. And maybe try to make an everything one, because I feel like it's close right now. I don't feel like we even need that much duration, just not as negative as it currently is. So I'm gonna play with that. I hope that answers your question. Does that make sense? Because we could lose some range, we could lose some negative duration, absolutely, and make it more balanced. Is there, chat, just quickly, what do we want for the last mod here? I'm gonna add a forma to this. You better believe that I'm gonna play with this more. It's cold. Deep phrase. As a quick note, Navigated Glaive with Mark of the Beast can add 120% crit and status chance of the ball sack. People, I also hope you understand why I didn't spend time talking about a glaive, simply because I don't think there's a lot to say, but, yeah, like, we're definitely doing that. I'm not sure what I'm taking off here. You even that likely to get viral? I'm gonna take those off. All right, I'll leave that here to remind myself of it. Having a variety of fun little things to throw sounds like, I don't know what we're doing that much with this though. Anyway, yeah, let's try to balance the monstrosity that we made to get the best of all worlds. So at the moment, just to establish the problem, yeah, it's really energy hungry. Because we've done negative duration, Prowl and Navigator's drains, mostly Prowl, it's very high, and you can't just add a little bit of efficiency to offset it because of the way that duration and efficiency interact with drain on channeled abilities. But we don't need all of this. Negative duration makes Navigator charge up its multiplier faster. You get the damage multiplier, you gain damage faster while navigating a projectile when you have negative duration. But it's not like we need all of it. We patently don't need all of it. We have repeatedly throughout the stream seen that we do not need all of it. Just doing this actually keeps the Prowl cost about neutral, but now we can make it better. So I think that might be the direction to go. And now Sleep Arrows should be pretty usable again. They're 7.5 seconds. You can actually loot enemies, etc. And we could drop a little bit of range too. For what? I guess efficiency or like just strength, like drop Blind Rage and go Intensify. And then literally just turn right back around and put back some strength, I guess. Which I don't have room for, but you could. Bringing the build to, like 160-ish. Yeah, and now the drain on Prowl is about half of what it was before, which I think would help a lot. A lot of people have been saying to use Flow. Just a quick reminder that this does not give you energy. It just lets you hold more energy. So far, I don't think that this build has needed to hold more energy, but you could set it up in a way where it would benefit from that. I'm not opposed to this idea if you have a need for it. I just want to say to the people that want to use flow, just make sure you've tried without it first, because it doesn't give you any more energy. It just lets you carry it around. It's going to depend a lot on playstyle and your sources of energy, whether that's good. And then, you've got to figure that out. But I don't know. The way I've been playing, I'm not sure this would be helping me. But it's an option, absolutely. You could remove overextended as well. Now the range on concentrated arrow is now 11.2 meters, and remember we have an additional sum from primed firestorm, so that's okay. I could show you. Want me to show you the range of Artemis bow with that setup, and then we'll run. I'm actually going to run more efficiency, and then what we could do is we could go fleeting. Where's my rank 5 fleeting? And then if you had the space, you could put crime continuity, classic, here, and end up with stats kind of like this. A lot of strength, and you still get the damage multiplier ramp up is a lot slower. The drain on prowl is pretty low. Let's inch fleeting expertise down a little bit. 0.37 per second to 0.51 per second. This accumulates. Oh wait, slower. No, that's bad. There's a lot going on here. Yeah, maybe this is too much duration. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, that gives you so much. Oh, that's so frustrating. Okay. Anyway, if you play around with it yourself, you'll notice that it's pretty volatile. That one mod took us from 0.37 drain to 1.75 drain. So, again, for the sake of time, I have to leave it at that. But you could play around with this all day. And I kind of feel like, yeah, you can probably calibrate it to a point where you end up in a pretty good place as far as getting everything to work all at once. That's satisfying. I said early on in the stream that I like making one build that does all the things I feel like a frame can do. It's novel to feel like there's at least some purpose to not running a Helminth ability for once. Probably the last time this will happen in this series, but I don't know. Who knows? Maybe not. Cool. Yeah. And then just to finish up the stream, compared to a previous option with Concentrated Arrow, we dropped a lot of range on this version, and I do have an open mod slot here, but let me just show you what the range on Concentrated Arrow looks like, because that's the main thing we sacrificed. There's some weirdness with duration, but again, you could just fiddle with that. Let's take a quick peek. Not bad. Like, it ain't half bad range. At least that's what I think. I'll show you a little bit more. Again, I wish we had more time. There's a lot to say with all the frames, really, but this has been a particularly loaded one in my perception. You see it doesn't quite... Oh no, maybe that did reach the enemies over here. Oh, this is good, this is good. You see all the enemies kind of equally spread out down there? That's great for looking at the relative distances. So you see it didn't hit that one there, which is kind of close, but it's still a decent radius. And remember, that was without Augur Reach, which I do have a slot for in theory. Yeah. Anyway, cool. It's all right. I would love maxing out the range. Kind of a point I was making earlier that this demonstrates is that, like, I think that the unique thing about Concentrated Arrow, in a way, is that the range is so high. And so we've made it like it's still good, but it's now really no different than just some other explosive weapon. The big thing about this is that if you stack range, it's such a huge radius explosive, and it is slower than a lot of other explosives. So I don't know. Like, to me as a player, that does a little bit defeat the point of this. But anyway, that's interesting. And you don't have to drop that much range. You could go overextended here, and the build still has moderate strength. Keep in mind, we also don't have, we've talked a lot during this stream about Molt Augmented, which would give the build a bunch more strength. So in theory, like maybe I might play it like this a bit more, because this does have like far superior explosive range to most other weapons. So that does kind of preserve that fantasy for me anyway. And I could run Auger Reach here, and then you have the most range. And then really it's fiddling around with the exact duration and efficiency. This is one of those interesting builds where having a lot of mods that are like, a rank 5 fleeting expertise, a rank 4, a rank 3, etc., or like different ranks of continuity, stuff like that. Oftentimes it's kind of academic why we'd have those. Like there's no good example of when it would be useful. This is a practical example. I feel like you kind of want, I don't know if I want full negative duration. I want a pretty specific amount of duration, kind of like 50%, which I'm not really sure, or maybe 40 or 30, but not 13%, which is the full negative one. That's tricky. So again, you like right now with a rank 3 one, I can go to 33%, but that makes the drain jumps up so quickly. Fiddling around with the exact values would yield, a variety of effects that we just don't have time for. And I'm not sure that any rank of these actually does the thing that I need. Do I have an extra fleeting? I don't. You might need like a rank 2 or rank 1 one. That's really tricky. But there's like a waterfall where if you go below like 60 or 50% duration, suddenly the drain per second falls off a cliff. That's the thing to tweak there. Or maybe the Navigator damage ramp up thing isn't that vital. It's still good as it is now. That's tricky. Anyway, I feel satisfied that we did as much as we could reasonably do. Just catching back up on chat a little more. People talked about flow a little bit more. Like using it for a runway for Navigator. Emily, you said, I feel like in today's Warframe it's so easy to get a ton of energy that flow does actually matter more than it used to. Yeah, I think that's to be taken with a grain of salt. Your allies might generate a lot of energy, but if you know you're going to be channeling an ability and you don't have all the big energy generating things, which this loadout mostly doesn't, I just think it's important to always remember to come back to the center of like, but where is all that energy coming from? I think that this loadout is a good example of like it negates almost all of those common energy sources. So I don't think this would do that much, but it would depend on your approach, of course. It's totally fair to say like there is just more energy flying around in Warframe nowadays. That's a reasonable point. Great Jedi, you said, hi, I did not watch all of TennoCon, but what are your thoughts on the future of the game? I'm not the person to go to for that. I will never be a source for Warframe news. I'm not interested in that. I just want to talk about builds. I thought TennoCon was really cool. Don't get me wrong, like me personally, but that's just not the thing that I wish to cover. I'm very excited for it. I don't want you to get the idea that I'm like hiding displeasure with it, but I'm not the person to ask that stuff. I hope you can understand. There are truly plenty of other people too, so I don't feel too bad. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I am quite curious to see. I will actually say one quick thing. Soulframe, some of the people at Digital Extremes are making a game called Soulframe. I don't like that name, but who knows? Which is a different game. That's why I don't like the name. You could kind of be fooled. That it is said to, in a lot of high-level ways be similar to Warframe, co-op, PvE focused, but be different in many other ways. It sounds like pretty melee focused, not very fast paced, very fast tempo like Warframe is. And they said they're going to take a lot of the development approach they've taken to Warframe to that game. that is a very open-ended statement. Like, when I heard that, I thought, I have a lot of problems with that approach in Warframe. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like, it really depends what they mean by that, you know? So let me just say that academically, I'm deeply interested in the game design of that game because Warframe has such a particular game design, and Buildcraft and game design are deeply intertwined. I'm quite interested in that topic. It's going to be really interesting to see what results from taking those ideas, whatever they meant by that. Again, that could mean a lot of things, to a different game, to a game with different problems, I'm sure, than Warframe will have. That's a really cool idea. Just one last thing. I am aware that there was a kind of a day-night cycle, or like a death looping type of game mode for Warframe. You know, get upgrades throughout the day and then you die and it repeats. It seems like that's what the Duviri paradox is going to be. A lot of people have said over the years that they think that that's a really good fit for Warframe. I've never, I don't know about that. I'm really curious about that. But Bennett, politely, I wish you wouldn't think of it as like, you like Hades, which is this type of game, and Warframe is getting this type of game. I don't like any type of game. I'm only interested in the particular way the game uses that system. It kind of sounded to me, Bennett, like they're going to put like something totally separate in that is kind of like you get random upgrades and then you die and they reset. They're going to put that in, but it's not going to be any of the stuff currently in Warframe. It's going to be like there will be that type of game also over here. And I'm that might be good. I don't know, but I don't know. A lot of people have suggested all the stuff in Warframe, those things being the random upgrades you get, which I think is an interesting idea. I think there's some problems with that, but a lot of people have suggested that over the years, and it kind of doesn't sound like they're going to do that. I don't know. I wonder. And again, a lot of the time, that style of game where you get random to various degrees upgrades, and then they reset, those games often don't have meaningful buildcraft. Some they often do, they often don't. So I don't know. Again, this is why I don't really. Y'all forced me to talk about the news. It's fine, but I hope that you can understand why. Like, in a way, it's just not relevant to talking about build stuff because we have no idea if it will be significant for Buildcraft yet. It being that type of game could mean essentially anything for Buildcraft. So I'm really looking forward to finding out, but we won't know for like 6 months, and that is when I plan to cover it. So again, I hope that makes sense. And I'm glad you're enjoying Hades. Hades is on Game Pass? That's awesome. Go play Hades. Hey, all of you go play Hades. We're playing Hades tomorrow. I'll talk to you all. If you enjoyed the show today, I hope that you will come back for another one. We're doing Warframe live shows where we buildcraft every frame in the game in alphabetical order, one after another, the primes only. And in a minute, we'll figure out who's next in that order. But if you enjoyed this, we do it every time, this time every week, every time this week, this time every week. So I'd love to have you back for that. Thanks for contributing your ideas. These would be way less interesting if it was just me talking, which is why I stopped doing that. So thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm happy with what we resulted with, came up with. Tomorrow I also stream, and Sunday I also stream at the same time. So if you were free like 2 hours ago, that's when I normally start. And I start that time on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, if you'd like to see that. Tomorrow we're going to be playing Hades. We've been gone from Hades for a while, so I'm looking forward to getting back to it. We played several years of Hades, and we took a little break. So I'm looking forward to coming back. And on Sunday we're doing Genshin Impact as normal. We always do Genshin Impact Buildcraft streams on Sundays. And this Sunday we have a new character. We have Hazo. So Hazo will be getting a live show, very much like this one for Ivara, but just for him in that game. So if you're interested in that, Hazo has a lot of meat on his bones. There's at least 3 different approaches I'm interested to discuss. So I'm really looking forward to that. See you then, I hope. I'll talk to y'all soon. Oh, wait. Ha. Somebody said it in chat, but it looks like Korra would be next in the order. So again, if we go by the frames that are primed in alphabetical order, after Ivara would be Korra, and Korra's prime just came out. The thing is, I won't have it, though, by next week. Well, I guess I could buy it with the platinum I have. You're going to have to stay posted. We might do Limbo. That's what I'm going to say. But I'm not going to, I frankly just don't have the money to simply buy Korra Prime. But if I have the platinum, which I might, then I'll take a look. We'll see. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, sorry about that. I'll talk to y'all soon. Limbo or Korra next week.